Hi, welcome to my video. I'm Jennifer Roberts and this is True Divine 4-4 and another writing on the wall. And I've got a feeling that for many reasons that I've explained in other videos, this one for a lot of people might not go down quite as sweetly. You know, it's not going to taste so sweet to everybody. There is a level in the UK given in sort of energetic observational reading of where we're at in the UK. And I've spoken to lots of people face to face and in talks about this, the equation, the balance of the energies at either side of the equation. And you see, when I did the ritual video, the writing on the wall, the ritual, where I explain why people are so obsessed with fighting for the right to wear the masks and getting very, very agitated if you try and talk to them about the absolute fact regarding those masks and that how they contradict the very thing they say they're wearing them for, that it has very little to do with cognition. It has very little to do with fact. It has more to do with feeling, and the feeling that that is their new ritual. And having been stripped of all of the rituals, they're going to cling on to that like a mofo. And so this is where the protests, you know, are coming to that energy. And I understand protests are fantastic for many reasons. They lift your energy up. You're around lots of people who are on a bit of an adrenaline rush, a bit of a high. So you lift each other's energies up. But these protests in the UK, and I have spoken about this from the start to various people, in that when I found out for sure that people were getting permission to walk in a certain parameter, and woe betide us if we go outside of that parameter. So actually it is not then a protest. It is just a group of awesome people getting together, feeding off of each other's energies, transmuting from each other's energies. And it's a relief, it's a release. I'm noticing now that there is an energy in the UK where people aren't noticing the fact that they are being slipped into and are slipping into basically the opposite and the same in the dualistic system as those who are fighting for the right to have the masks. In that, if we're asking permission from the very people who are being so tyrannical over us, then we are not actually protesting against them. We are giving our energy over to them. And we are speaking, for the most part, in a vacuum, you know, just like minds being together, but very much so having an effect on people watching us, to dig them into their ritual of fighting to be socially distanced and masked. So getting them to dig their heels in further, because the opposition of this protest of people walking a certain parameter is the healthy opposition to have them dig their heels in further, and vice versa. The people are feeding from the ritual, the mask ritual people, where they are then digging their heels in even further and wanting more and more of these protests. Now, what is happening to us is not peaceful. What is happening to our elderly and our children is not peaceful. And just as the government keep moving the goalposts, as in 2 weeks, do you remember that 2 weeks that I warned about at the very start? You know, to flatten this curve. On the Awake and Aware side in the UK, it's a bit a pill to swallow, but we also keep moving the goalposts of, you know, when children start dying, that'll be it, you know, that'll be the line. When the elderly start getting attacked, that'll be it, that'll be the line. When businesses start to get closed down en masse, that'll be it, that'll be the line. And we keep moving this goalpost, and that is because there is still a sense on both sides that they are both unaware of the fact that they are still frightened to lose everything, and frightened to face the fact that if we just go along giving this energy over in these protests, then, you know, it's going to end up that you either lose everything or you are having to live in a very conformed, controlled way anyway. And so this is not the energy in the UK yet of change. In actual fact, the energy I've noticed with the protests has turned into a comfortability. There's a comfortability in getting the permissions of the certain parameters. There's a comfortability in being around like minds on a certain date, a certain time, going home at a certain date, certain time. There's a comfortability there. And in that comfortability, we've actually changed not one thing via the energy of protests. Not one aspect of the plan have we changed. In a matter of fact, if we were to write out a graph, I would bet the fact that we have actually aided the changes that the government has been making behind our backs, i.e. It has given them more power because people have been distracted. See, the government actually like protests. The government actually encourage protests. This is why it's protected in law so much. Why? Not because they love us so much, not because they care a hoot about what we say or what we think. No, it's because they know that energetic equation, and they know that if they can, a little bit like in the prisons, if they keep people locked up all of the time, they pretty much know that person or those persons are going to go crazy, get violent, etc., etc., be far harder to look after. So what do? They give them a walk around the yard regularly, to give them some release, just enough release to stop them from boiling over, to stop the prison turning into a civil war type energy. Now, that's what these protests have been doing. They're now delaying the inevitable, but in that delaying, the government gets steps ahead, and we are in a place again of going to have to be very reactionary without the preparedness. And so this is, a bit of a pill to swallow for many. I understand that it's a difficult one because, again, just like the mask is that release to have that ritual that is so important to us, then, the same goes in that now people have noticed, have become so attached to the fact that this is their only release, this is their only way to sort of, in a safe way, feel like they're diffusing some of the energy, that if they didn't have this avenue of release, then the looming losing of the business, the looming losing of the home, the looming losing of the rights to be guardians to their children, that would boil over, and it's hard to face, and people are in avoidance. So actually on either side, in each layer of the collective, the opposite is more similar to the opposite. There is far more similarities always. The government is very similar to the people who are aware of what they're doing, in that they're playing a game. They're sort of dancing around certain issues because neither one wants to throw the first sort of punch. And so this is where, they have far more similarities than people would like to think. It's a little bit like the Queen, her opposite, her similar and opposite. She's a sponger. She lives off benefits, she sponges, she's, barely works a day in her life, really. She's a parasite that eats off the backs of others. And if you look at the lowest ranks of society, those that are generational, like her family, benefit, wanting to be on benefits, wanting to feed from others or from other parts of the system rather than sustain themselves. This is where we see the similarities. They look so opposite, but actually they are so similar. So it's really important, and I know this is a bit of a pill to swallow, that if we were truly to go outside of that parameter, we would very quickly see that this protest is not a way of acting free, because then we would very quickly see, if we took a few steps off route, then we would quickly see how quickly the police would put us back in our place, just like prison officers would put us back in our cell. We would see the true colors shining through for sure. salute to my brother Peter for that song yesterday. And this is where, you know, it's very, very difficult to maintain discernment. But during this time, there has to be advice taken from those that can see the equation. I've been calling this a lot, you know, that people are sharing memes and stuff now, and, you know, bigger channeled numbers, you know, but doing interviews about a bioweapon. Who was saying it before they even announced things were coming out that would do the thing, you know? I did, and I know this is a bit a pill to swallow, but I know I'm right. I can see through the government, and I can see their glee in the fact that we are protesting the way that we are protesting. There are many fabulous people out there, and I'm looking forward to meeting one of them, that are doing things that are hitting them in the pocket regarding being able to really interpret the law and turn it around and flip it around, you know, flip that script. There are many people in the medical industry that are being suppressed, but are working super hard to use both their own law against them and their own knowledge against them. But again, this isn't coming forward enough, because there is a huge amount of people relying on the fact that their voices being heard will make a difference. The government want you to feel that way. They want you to feel that you have that power. They are glad of it. This is why they're giving the permissions for the protests. If we were to arrange a protest on a day that was not given permission for, and go on the route as a free people in a free way, go on the routes that we would choose to go on, then we would very quickly see that this has been an illusion, that we were ever going to make a difference this way. We would very quickly see that actually the wisdom behind this is that we are aiding the plans going ahead behind our backs, because we're giving that energy to it, and we are allowing people that release, so that things don't bubble over enough, so that people don't face the fact of where we actually are in this game, what is actually being done to us, what is actually being done to our elderly, what is actually being done to our young, what is actually being done to each layer of society right now. And this is how they did World War II. You know, they gave a level of people feeling like they could vent while, you know, trampling down another aspect of society. And they kept changing that equation around, changing that balance around, until boom, things were too far. And it's unfortunate, I know. But along with this story of, you know, the light's coming, the ascension's coming, the boom, it's not going to happen until people can start to interpret their game the way that some fabulous lawyers like Anna Dubricius can absolutely interpret the law, in that energetically, this is what I do, and energetically, I hope this is making sense, we are actually giving energy to the government by the way in which we are protesting, because in actual fact, it is a contradiction in terms, because with their permissions and with their rules, then we are protesting nothing. And so it feels like we are, but actually that's what they want us to feel. And that is another one of the illusions. And as we go along in this game, that's the part of the awakening that is difficult to swallow, because there's this constant realignment and need for adjustment of discernment, to be able to see through the many and vast and powerful illusions that are created. And so this isn't a slight on anyone. And I know some people will take it that way. This is me doing my job. The same way the governments have psychics, the bankers have psychics on their team. I'm trying to do my bit for my team, my society, my land, you know, the land that I'm guardian over, alongside a lot of other people that I love and adore. And so I wouldn't be doing you justice or myself justice, or why I am here justice, if I didn't come on this video again and sort of air these concerns again. And as I say, they're difficult to bring up with people because I'm basically doing what I would be doing to people who've embodied the ritual of the mask wearing. You know, pulling it back and flicking it in their face, you know, and making fun of it and in their eyes, in their perception. And so it's not easily absorbed. This is why they've done the indoctrination of riots. This is why they've taken the time to hijack other groups, other movements, and cause them to be more riotous groups, rioting groups, because then even in our minds, we have the seeds of, we don't want to be like them, we want to be peaceful. Now, I'm going to say from the start of this, I was calling out in private, didn't want to send anyone down the river, quite a few of the psyops that I could see, psyops that people had taken on their own back to create, to create their own wealth in an unfair way. I'm all for people making money and doing well and being successful, but in an unfair way, because the intent behind it was not to deliver what they were promising to deliver. And that is coming about, that is coming about full circle. And a few people who were ignorant to that, willfully ignorant, and a part of that will have egg on their face. So again, for those that I love and adore, I don't want that for those people. Not the people I'm mentioning, I mean the people that, you know, can see good in. There's a lot to be discerning about. And, you know, I love a protest. I love a good protest. But to me, I've kept speaking it out. I've kept trying to be a part of them. But to me, these aren't protests. These are exercise routes on the prison grounds. You know, given as a permission, as a gift, as a there you go, you know, that'll shut you up kind of thing. That'll keep you from bubbling over into what the government would be terrified of, and that will be civil war. And again, there's this attachment, this seed in people's minds because of the hijacking of many groups that have then been made into riotous groups in a ridiculous way. Then we see that actually, you know, there is that seed, there's that indoctrination within us that we don't want to be like that. I think this needs to be a wake-up call for the UK as to just how far our government has already gone and just how far it is willing to go on each layer of society, but most of all, where my heart lies, with the elderly and the young. So, you know, take this as you will. Hopefully you can absorb it, transmute it, you know, understand what I'm trying to say. And if not, so fuck. Because I know if we continue down this route, then there are going to be too many steps ahead. And already we're going to have a very tough 6 to 8 months regarding death, regarding sorrow and fear and control. And so we're already, for as long as we delay the inevitable, that boiling over moment, the more we have to fight against, because the more steps there are ahead. So much love, balance and wholeness. Be aware, be discerning, be you, be free. Mwah.